An extremely powerful hurricane is looking more and more likely to develop in the Caribbean as models continue to track the system to the west. Devastating impacts are possible for parts of the region, and folks up and down the United States need to pay attention to the forecast over the next couple of weeks. Meanwhile, we're tracking a big pattern change that's gotten underway across the lower 48, and snowfall is in the forecast over the next 2 weeks as winter makes an early arrival. We've got a lot to track, folks. We're going to start right here, though, in the tropics, taking a look at newly formed tropical storm Melissa. Welcome into the channel, friends. Jason is my name. I'm so glad you're here to track the weather with me on this Wednesday, October the 22nd. Yesterday morning, I did a video and told you that this system, 98L, was on the cusp of developing, and develop it did through the afternoon, and it developed right into Tropical Storm Melissa, and here it is. You can see it spinning around here, and these big purple colors that are showing up are very, very tall thunderstorms extending way up high into the atmosphere. That's how the satellite displays this on this particular image, and you can see the lower white clouds spinning out, but this looks a lot more symmetrical than it did yesterday. Still got a little bit of shear coming off, but that will lessen as the system continues to meander through the Caribbean, folks. Here's what it looks like on the official hurricane center map. There it is, Tropical Storm Melissa sitting right dead center here in the middle of the Caribbean. If we take a look at the forecast track, well, it's expected to remain a tropical storm over the next couple of days, then reach hurricane status as it moves south of Jamaica, where tropical storm watches are up. My expectation is we will see some warnings hoisted and some hurricane watches go up as well as more and more models continue to strengthen this storm as it moves west in the Caribbean. Got a weird looking track. This isn't so much a track as it is just a big circle. Anywhere in this circle, the center of circulation could pass over the next 5 days. But as you can see, the official little track, representation by the letters here take it just south of Jamaica 5 days from now. So you can see it's not expected to move all that much. It's got winds of 50 miles per hour max sustain, and it's moving at a rapid pace, warp speed 2 miles per hour. So not really going anywhere all that fast. Now I'm going to show you a couple of models here, folks. We talked about the environment yesterday in the Caribbean, and that still holds, so you can go back and watch all of that yesterday or today in yesterday's video. But the waters are extremely warm in the Caribbean, and they're warm at depth. So as this moves over, it'll upwell waters, and it's upwelling warm water. Plenty of rocket fuel for this thing to just take off. Shear is lessening and low in particularly the central to southern part of the Caribbean, and then you've got a big anticyclone that's forming that's going to help evacuate the air out of this thing. So as this moves west into the Caribbean, we expect that this will really take off, and there's no upper limit right now, folks, down this far in the Caribbean. As it gets up north, it will probably encounter some shear. It will definitely encounter some shear. Well, here's the GFS. In the GFS operational, I've run this out to 5 days. Remember when it was taking the system on out through the Antilles, then Puerto Rico? Remember when it was taking it out through the DR? Well, now it's keeping it in the Caribbean for the next 5 days. It's correcting toward the other models. That's what I'm trying to say with all of that, folks. And there it comes, 5 days out. This will be next Tuesday, Monday evening into Tuesday morning. It makes its way through the DR, Hispaniola, and goes on out to sea. And eventually by next weekend, we're looking at potential impacts in the British Isles and up into the UK. So you guys have to pay attention if the GFS is right. Here is the 5-day trend, or let's call it the 6-run trend. That's what I did. I did the 6-run trend of the GFS, the last 6 runs at essentially the same time frame. And you can see the GFS has been correcting. It was way up here. It's kind of moved back, and now it's back into the Caribbean. So it's correcting toward the other models. Here's the European model. Now, at 5 days, this is 6 days actually, it's sitting in the western section of the Caribbean. This is the end of the 6Z European run. This is the latest run, and still 6 days out, it's sitting here. Now, watch this. If I show you the trend of the European, it's been pretty consistent. It's just kind of been flopping around as the model was trying to ascertain where the low-level circulation was in prior runs. Now we have a low-level circulation, and look, it's sorting stabilized back here and getting the last couple of runs stable here in the central and west central Caribbean. So that's good news from at least a track, kind of nailing down the track standpoint. Here we go. I'm going to run this back to the 0Z run, the prior run, so we can run it out a little farther. But if you look here, we get on out toward day 7, still in the Caribbean, finally starting to move north, and it's in the western side of the Caribbean, which puts it a little bit closer to the United States than the GFS. You can see it runs it all the way up there. By the time we get to Friday, October the 31st, Halloween, it's impacting you folks up in Nova Scotia, ruining all of your trick-or-treat plans. This would not be a good Halloween present. Moves up into Newfoundland and off into the Atlantic after that. So that's the European solution. Now, we're going to take a look at a couple of ensembles here, starting with the European ensembles. All these L's represent the different ensemble members that think a hurricane, or a tropical cyclone at least, will be in the vicinity, and this is 7 days from now. So 7 days from now, the majority of these ensemble members still have a tropical cyclone in the Caribbean, some approaching Cuba, some here close to the DR, some back here into Central America. And if we just run this on forward, look what happens. We get on out toward day 8, and then get on out here toward day 9, and plenty of ensemble members start to bring the system out of the Caribbean, some out harmlessly into the Atlantic, some leave it behind, and some, look what happens here, start to curve and bend back toward the U.S. Why is that? We talked about this yesterday, but in the case of the European, the GFS has a big low pressure winding up over the lakes toward Halloween. But what happens on the European is that there's a piece of energy, and the storm track's kind of like this. And so if you get this system west in the Caribbean, you get Melissa over here to the west in the Caribbean, and then you get a big L or a storm system starting to cut off here in the Tennessee Valley down here of the southeast. It's going to act to really draw in this storm system like some of these ensemble members are showing. You got big blocking high up here in Canada, and that would slow the storm track down and allow a cutoff to happen right here in the southeast or Tennessee Valley. And if this system is west and approaching the coast of the United States, it could get drawn back in. We talked about that yesterday and saw a couple of models doing that, and we've seen this off and on. So that solution is on the table. I still think we've got an 80% chance or so to stay off the coast, but definitely some concerning trends pulling this thing back west. The Google DeepMind here at day 7 is still mostly in the Caribbean. Some are escaping like the GFS, but eventually more of those ensemble members come out. And look at all these pinks. I saw this on the European ensemble too. This pink means very, very strong system. And as it gets west and deep into the Caribbean, low shear, warm waters, and a nice big anticyclone over the system is all systems go for rapid strengthening. And you'll see some of these models, I think the operational models, correct toward higher end storms as we go on out in time for those reasons. And most of the Google DeepMind members take this on out to sea, but there are a couple that bend back in toward land. At least one does here, and I think there are a couple more that do that too. So watch out, folks on the East Coast, in terms of paying attention to the forecast. Folks down here in the Caribbean, we're going to see from the Cuba to Hispaniola and into the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos really need to follow the forecast over the next 7 to 8 days or so. Very, very heavy rains. We're talking 10 to 20 inches of rain are possible along some of these shorelines here and even into the land areas as well. And high winds, particularly if we see these western solutions pan out. This is going to be a high-end storm more than likely, and we're going to see a lot of wind out of this. And that's your tropical outlook. I'll keep you posted as we go along. Folks, right now I've got your weather IQ question. Then we're going to take a look at the weather over the next several days in the U.S. and look at that Halloween storm situation. Yesterday it looked like we're going to have a washout along the East Coast. Is that still the case? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. I'm going to wrap things up with space weather and the answer to that weather IQ question that I'm about to ask you right now. Today's weather IQ question is about pressure. What do you know about pressure? That's a quote from a movie, and if you know the answer to that, that's your bonus question for today. Type it in the comments. But otherwise, here is the actual real question, and it is this. What is the highest surface pressure ever recorded on Earth? Here are your choices: 1084 millibars, 1050 millibars, 1075, or 1090 millibars. If you know the answer, just want to guess, type in the comments. If you don't, just wait till the end of the show and I will let you know what it is, along with another fun fact as well. And you can check out the top of the screen. I've got a crawler coming up in a few minutes that gives you a cool little this day in history as well. But right now I've got your forecast for the upcoming rest of the work week. Friends, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider joining the team. Hit the subscribe button right down below and ring the bell for notifications. Get those notifications on. That way you know when new videos are out. Won't ever see that if the alerts are off. Simple little process there. And of course, hit the like button if you like the content. Let me know if there is anything I can be in prayer about for you in the comment section. Any way I can support you, I'm happy to do that. And I appreciate all your support for me. I read and respond to every one of those comments. Oh, and let me know where you're commenting from, folks. And I've got a little crawler going across the top of the screen that has a cool little this day in history. I try to do that every day, this day in weather history thing. And so hopefully that's fun for you to look at. Here is a big fun thing to look at, and that's a big gyre here up over the Great Lakes, and flow around that gyre is counterclockwise. As you can clearly see here, it's pulling in moisture off the Atlantic. We've seen a lot of rain coming through New England this morning, certainly shower activity and some heavier downpours in through the Great Lakes region, upper Ohio Valley and interior Northeast. We've got some clouds along the Gulf Coast. We've also got another system working into the southwestern portion of the United States, bringing some rain out here in terms of showers at least. And then far off the screen, you can't see it, a big storm system that's going to be working along and heading in toward the Atlantic coast, folks, the Pacific Northwest. I'm looking at the Atlantic on my map, and I'm saying Atlantic, and I mean the Pacific Northwest. We're going to see that come in later this week. In the meantime, we've got frost advisories for tonight. It's going to get rather chilly, and we could see some temperatures dipping in to the lower 30s, close to freezing. Anywhere you see areas in blue here, farther north, it will be freezing, but you've already had your frost alerts, and so not so much worried about it there. We're going to take a look at the future radar here and see what it shows us over the next several days for the east and for the west. We're going to start here in the east, and this morning we see all those showers out from Wisconsin all the way over to Maine, and that heavier rain will work through Maine as we go through the course of today into this evening, and then we'll just be left with some clouds and spotty showers and drizzle as we go through the overnight hours, and you can see that begin to pick up. Even the radar's picking up, the future radar picking up a little bit of snow here in Wisconsin. We'll see if that pans out or not. Get through the day tomorrow, more showers and some heavy downpours in spots coming around that gyre, and that just sits in place through the balance of the week. We get into Friday morning, still showery and drizzly up here through the Great Lakes and Northeast, as that system is very, very slow to pull out even into Saturday. It could be quite a dank several days up here in the Great Lakes to the Northeast. Southeast is looking great. Got a little rain activity poking in to end the week down here. And if we go to the other view, take a look at the west, look at this. This afternoon, we're looking at showers from California to Nevada down here into the western portion of the Four Corners region. Another batch of rain moving into the Pacific Northwest, particularly up here in Washington State. We go through the afternoon tonight into the overnight hours. Those showers will diminish and then head on off to the east, and more rain coming into the Puget Sound area up in the northwest. And look what happens as we get to tomorrow afternoon. We start to see thunderstorms break out. We could see severe weather pop up here Thursday and Friday afternoon down here in the eastern sections of the Four Corners region, talking about Colorado into New Mexico, into Texas, into Oklahoma. And we're really looking at southern plains becoming more of a focus as we head into the overnight hours Thursday night and into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. And look up here in the northwest, another big front coming in ahead of a big storm system. That's going to bring a lot of rain to the west. In the meantime, Friday morning, things will diminish and head off to the east and get out of the picture here, but that storm system is still in place, and instability will build yet again Friday evening into the overnight. And you can see some big thunderstorms breaking out here in Texas, even some potential isolated cells here in Colorado and New Mexico. We get into Oklahoma, we'll see that activity kind of coalesce, but we could see a wind, tornado, maybe even hail threat down here as well as we move into the overnight hours. And there's that big system pushing into the northwest as we get into Friday night and towards Saturday morning. We're still going to be dealing with rain, a lot of rain down here in Texas. You guys need the rain in that area, so wake up Saturday morning to plenty of rain, and plenty of rain pushing into the west as well, folks, where we also need the rain. So it's going to be quite unsettled as we head through the work week, and again, that will push east as time goes on and toward and beyond the weekend into early next week. Now, looking out a little bit at Halloween, yesterday we saw a pretty damp forecast at least from the European and the Canadian, some of the other guidance along the East Coast for Halloween. Look what the GFS does as we get on into Halloween. It winds a big storm system up here, moves it up through the lakes, but leaves the East Coast pretty much under the influence of high pressure, nice and dry for Halloween along the East Coast. But boy, up here in the Great Lakes back in toward the Mississippi Valley, we could find some rain for trick-or-treaters if the GFS solution is true and more showers working onto the Pacific Northwest coast yet again. And that's what happens. We get another storm system hot on its heels as we get out toward the beginning of November. Now, the European tells a little bit of a different story. There comes the hurricane on the GFS. It had already gone out of the picture, but we're looking at October the 30th here. That hurricane rolls up. So in the morning of Halloween, you're looking at some showers here in eastern North Carolina. That will quickly get out of the picture and leave a pretty nice day for essentially from the southern area of Maine on south. A little bit of shower activity pushing in through the Great Lakes, but the European doesn't have that big storm system. It's got more of energy coming in the south, which could help to influence this track of this storm system of a tropical storm or hurricane. At that time, it'll be Hurricane Melissa as it kind of comes up the coast. Another big system pushing into the west could dampen some Halloween activities out there. But that's what we're looking at. As a matter of fact, I need to get on the right view and you can actually see the whole picture there. But that's what we've got going on for the Halloween forecast. Right now it's looking pretty good for much of the nation, especially the southern portion of the nation as we go on out in time, assuming the European is closer to reality than the GFS. GFS has that big storm system with a trailing cold front that could make it a little bit damper through the Mississippi Valley anyway. But there we go. There's temperatures over the course of the rest of the week, looking at cooler air pushing into the to the east rather, and keeping us cool as we head into the weekend with another warm shot hot on its heels and another push of cool air coming in off the Pacific with that new storm system. It blasts down through the southeast and the southern portion of the southern plains, I should say, and then into next weekend as we get on into the end of Halloween. It's going to feel like Halloween should feel, at least in my mind, here in the south and the east with warmth out west. That's where you've got the ridge out there and general troughing in the east, according to the European ensemble. It's probably right. GFS ensemble tends to agree with that too, and it looks like we've got a growing signal for that, so that's good. What about snowfall? Well, the European model itself shows some snow as we move on through the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to put this on a different display so we can get the whole 2 weeks out here. But we move this along. We get on into Thursday and Friday. Got a little snow here in Colorado. And then we get on in toward the weekend. We see that storm system move in out west, really bring some snow to the higher elevations, Cascades, Northern Rockies, Bitterroots, places like that. A little bit of snow here in the White and Green Mountains. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? As we get on in toward the end of next week. And then that's pretty much it, folks, for the European snowfall. The bulk of the snow's out here in the west. Look what the GFS does, though, as we go on out toward the end of the week. A little bit of snow in Colorado. So, hey, the Rocky Mountains down there are going to see some snow. It looks like it's a lot of agreement with that. And as we go out, that snowfall picks up in the west as that storm system comes in. But watch what happens as we get on out toward mid and toward the end of next week. Toward Halloween, GFS winds that storm system up. And as we get on out here toward November the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, boy, the GFS just plows the cold air in, blasted in out of Canada, and mixes up with some moisture. And we've got snow from the interior sections of the Northeast back through the Great Lakes. Looks like even a little lake effect snow action cranking up here, with snow getting close to where cold rain lives in the southern Appalachians. Wouldn't that be something here to start November? That's the GFS, and GFS is often wonky out at range, so we're not going to put all of our eggs in this basket, but there is a growing possibility for snow out west. That is looking likely, and some signals, depending on how this storm system eventually develops in the east, that we could see some snow making it into parts of the upper Midwest, even into the Northeast, and some of the Appalachian Mountains could pick up a few flakes toward the beginning of November. And that's your forecast, folks. Going to wrap it up here with the answer to today's weather IQ question and get you out of here with that. There's not much going on in space, folks, in terms of space weather. We've got a few sunspots turning toward us, but they're benign, not shooting off any solar flares right now. Again, they're growing and changing, so we'll watch those, but no coronal holes, nothing on the KP. So all is quiet outside of a filament erupting. We're not looking at any CMEs or solar storm conditions. Did have a 5.9 earthquake that struck off the coast of Costa Rica. I'm not familiar with any damage that occurred because of that, but if you know of anything, let me know. No volcanoes affecting the United States right now. now that we're worried about. The moon is increasingly bright, now at 1.3%, waxing crescent coming out of new moon phase from yesterday. We're headed toward a full moon phase, and that will be on November the 5th. It is the beaver moon, which you may remember is the first full moon in November. You may remember that from our moon series weather IQ question set that happened a couple of months ago. In the meantime, we've got to get you the answer to today's weather question. What do you know about pressure? That's from Ace Ventura, and if you haven't seen Ace Ventura, shame on you, you need to watch that. But here's the question: what is this highest surface pressure on record? And the answer is, out of all of these, 1,084 millibars. That occurred in Agata, Siberia. That's way over in Russia, the last day of the year. That was December 31st, 1968. Long time ago. You get these big Arctic highs. They have a big pressure dome, and you can get some really high pressure readings in some cases, and that was true. There were other reports around that of similar pressure, so it was not instrumentation failure. It was a legit reading. And that's what happened on December 31st, 1968. One more thing that happened today in history, back in 2012 on October 22nd, Lance Armstrong was stripped of his 7 titles and barred from Olympic competition because of doping allegations and the ongoing doping investigation. Remember, there was a lot of lead up to that where he denied it, and eventually they began to investigate and discovered that he was in fact doping. Sad reminder that even the best of us can make mistakes and fall pretty hard, folks. But if you believe the Bible as I do, we have a Heavenly Father that forgives us and certainly gives us another chance, and we should anchor to that hope and that forgiveness, and we should forgive each other in that same model, folks. So that's what we need to do. It was sad to see Lance Armstrong collapse like that. I really liked him and some of the stuff that he did, but hey, it's just life, and pressure sometimes makes us do bad things. Don't give in to pressure. Be yourself and stand on your ethics. And that is our moral object lesson for today, folks. In the meantime, I will put together another show. I'll keep you updated on Melissa as she continues to track through the Caribbean. And as always, if you have any comments, let me know in the comments section. But this is Cold Rain reminding you that the weather runs 24/7, as you know. As you also know, I'll keep you posted. 4814 right here on Cold Rain's Weather World. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and God bless.